can I ask you something personal? When did you first feel like you belong somewhere? Not tolerated, not managed, not just allowed to be in the room, but actually belonging, like the space would feel different if you weren't in it. Like you were expected, you were wanted, and you were part of something. For some of you, that feeling might have showed up early. A family dinner table, a school team, a childhood bedroom that felt like the whole world. But for a lot of us, a lot of people, that, and probably more than we talk about, that feeling took a long time to arrive. And when it didn't come where it was expected, it came from a person. One adult who decided, without being asked, without being in their job description, without any guarantee of it working, that this kid, maybe this adult, was worth showing up for. So today we're going to talk about those people. Youth workers, the support workers, the ones who sit in the community centres, the church halls, the temporary offices with the bad lighting, and somehow they change everything. So welcome back. I'm Ashley Costello, and this is the Resilient Kid podcast with the place I finally fit. So if you remember a few weeks ago, we kicked this off with Ruby O'Brien, and she talked about a youth worker called Jack who really encouraged her. And as we know, if you've listened to the podcast, Ruby went on to be youth MP of Knowsley. And she is one of our speaker lineups on the Manifest Teen Tent. And we are really excited. She's really coming on board and she's just flying. She's absolutely flying. And it was her story that made me really think about, who do I know? What kind of stories do I know about youth workers? Because I did a lot of work in that sector. I was a residential social worker. We had a lot of youth workers that we worked with. And I started to think about some of those stories because they do have a huge impact. So I'm going to tell you a story about a girl called Keza. Now, I'm going to use that name, should I say, because I don't want them to be identified. And I have changed a few of the details so they're not identifiable. But the gist of the story, the message of the story is still the same. She's 13. She's quiet in the way that often gets mistaken for she's fine, everything's okay. Teachers describe her as no trouble. Her reports say pleasure to have in class, works independently. And what they mean, though nobody says it, is that Keza has learned to be invisible. She has perfected the art of taking up as little space as possible. At home, things are complicated. Her mum loves her fiercely in the way exhausted people love, which is real, but sometimes hard to feel. There's been different stepdads, different houses, different schools. Keza has been to 4 schools in probably 5 years. Every time she starts to feel the edges of something, a friendship, a routine, a sense of this is my place, the floor shifts and she starts again. She's not a child anyone is particularly worried about, and that's the thing. She's not acting out, she's not in trouble, she's just not quite anywhere. Just floating from one friendship group to the next, present in body but absent in any way that might matter. She doesn't belong to any particular group at school. She's not sporty, not the loud ones, not even the quiet ones who found each other. She eats lunch in the library. She has a talent. She draws constantly. Intricate, detailed worlds in the margins of her notebooks, and she's never shown anyone because showing someone means risking, and risking things has never gone well. So one Thursday afternoon, because her mum signed a form she didn't really read, Keza ends up at a youth centre. She doesn't want to be there. But the youth centre is loud. It smells of instant coffee and trainers. There are beanbags in primary colours, the murals on the wall that somebody painted badly with obvious love. And there's a table tennis that's missing the net. And then there's Marcus. Marcus is the equivalent of Ruby's Jack. And Marcus has been a youth worker for 11 years. He's 34, drives a car with a broken heater. He puts his petrol expenses on, submits them, mostly gets ignored. He has a caseload too big and a budget that's too small. And a manager who means well but doesn't always understand what work on the ground actually looks like. You've probably met a Marcus. You have seen a Marcus. He has also, in the 11 years, developed a superpower. He can see the ones who've learned to make themselves small. Keza. He spots her within 4 minutes. She's sitting on the edge of the room. Still got a coat on. International symbol of I'm not staying. And she's drawing in a notebook, half hiding it with her arm. Because this drawing makes coming here bearable. He doesn't make a big deal. He doesn't pull up a chair and announce himself. He just walks past and glances. And then says, "Is that city real or did you make it up?" She looks up, startled. "Made it up." "How long have you been building it?" She blinks, because he's obviously interested and insightful. 2 years. "Right," he says. And then he goes off, deals with something across the room. He doesn't push, he doesn't make a thing of it. But he's asked, he's noticed, he's treated her drawing like it was architecture, like it was real, like she was a person who has been quietly building something for 2 years, and that's worth acknowledging. Keza comes back the following Thursday. She doesn't take her coat off, but guess what? She's back. Now, I want to pause there for a moment, because why does this matter? There is a lot of research into this, and I want to talk about what Marcus just did and why it works. There is a concept in developmental psychology called belonging uncertainty, and it was studied extensively by a researcher called Gregory Walton, even at Stanford University in America. And what he found was this. For young people who have experienced instability, rejection, or repeated uprootings, moving from one home to another city, things like that, then there is a persistent internal question that runs like a background noise. Do I belong here? Is this temporary? Will this be taken away? And the crucial part is that when this question is running, it takes up cognitive and emotional space. It adds to what we call the cognitive load now. It makes it harder to connect, harder to engage, harder even to learn, because that part of the brain is always on high alert, always scanning for signs that this is going to end. Walton's research also showed that even the very small interventions, a single conversation that communicated "you are seen, you have a place here," could reduce belonging uncertainty and improve engagement, well-being and academic outcomes significantly. The intervention wasn't a program or a curriculum, it was a moment of genuine human acknowledgement. And we know, don't we, that what all of us as human beings need is to be seen and to be heard. And that one step further, to belong. And all of this probably sounds a little bit familiar. There is also the work of Dr. Brené Brown. I adore her work. I think she's absolutely fantastic. She's done a huge amount of research on vulnerability, on shame, on belonging, and it's reached millions of people through her podcasts, her books, and her work out there. And she makes an important distinction that fitting in is not the same as belonging. Fitting in, Brené Brown says, is assessing a situation and becoming who you need to be accepted. And we see that with teens all the time. They suddenly feign interest in a sport, in makeup, in various different things so they fit in. Belonging is the opposite. Belonging is being accepted as you are. And the tragedy is that so many of our kids, and it's getting younger and younger, and teens who feel they don't belong spend enormous energy on fitting, which actually moves them further away from genuine connection. And I often say this when teens are looking to get a boyfriend, girlfriend, a significant someone, that if you pretend to anime and it's not really your thing, then that person is trying to make a connection with someone that's not real. You're trying to make a connection on something that's not real. And so it's never going to work. Keza has never tried to fit in. She's gone straight to that invisible instead. The same destination, different route. And what Marcus did, without a program, without a manual, without a framework, just from 11 years of paying attention to kids, was signal something different. I'm not asking you to perform. I'm not asking about the thing you care about. I see you already. Now let's bring one more piece of research, because this one is close to my heart. It was a landmark study by Save the Children UK and the Centre for Research on Families and Relationships. And what they found was children experiencing family instability for whatever reason, and often that is through no fault, the frequent moves, the parental stress, inconsistent caregiving, the single most protective factor against long-term mental health was the presence of one stable, non-family adult relationship. Let me just say that again. The single most protective factor against these kids having long-term mental health difficulties was the presence of one stable, non-family adult relationship. Not therapy, not intervention, not behaviour plans. One adult, consistent, present, paying attention, seeing them, hearing them. Youth workers are that adult for thousands of children every single year. We don't have enough youth workers. We don't have enough youth centres. I live in Mid Cheshire. I know of one. It has been going a very long time, but it actually is it's nowhere near the town where kids congregate in McDonald's, cause trouble. Why? Because nobody is seeing these kids. Nobody is picking these kids up. A lot of the work that we do is adding that trusted adult in, giving them that safe space so that they can be seen, be heard, that they can work out and process what's going on for them. It's a safe pair of hands that hold space and make sure they're okay. Let's get on to the bit where we say top tips. How even can we create belonging for a child, a teen who has learned to make themselves small and disappear? So whether you are a youth worker, a teacher, parent, aunt, uncle, coach, does not matter. I'm going to give you 5 genuine ways to create belonging for a child who has stopped expecting it, like Keza. So 1, enter through their interest. This is so important. Not their story. Don't lead with what you know about their background, their families, their struggles. Lead with what they care about. Ask about the drawing, the game, the thing they're half hiding, the sports, the interest. Everything else can come later when they trust you enough to let you in. 2, don't reward disclosure. Reward presence. When a withdrawer child shows up, that's really brave. You don't need them to open up to validate them being there. Good to see you again. That's all it takes. And mean it. Let presence be enough at first. Don't rush this process. Trust is built in small micro moments. I think about trust in a marble jar. And I actually think I got this off Brené Brown. Every small moments when somebody asks about how's your grandparents or remembers your dog's name, that is putting a marble in the trust jar. It is made in those small micro moments, not the big things. That comes later. 3, be boringly consistent. Be there every week. The same hello, the small things they mentioned last time. For a child or a teen whose life has been unpredictable, your boringness is a gift. Predictability is safety. Safety equals belonging. Now, that might seem really small, but I have a few students that I wear, like, this is why we have this. It's got my name on. They don't have to ask. They know who I am. They're expecting me to turn up in my jumper with my name on. I have a young student. I had my hair cut. I probably only had about 3 inches cut off it, but I had to tell him in advance so he knew. So I messaged the mum. Oh, just let him know. Had my hair cut. So he was expecting it. Those little things that seem really boring, actually, it builds that predictability for them. It builds that predictability. Maybe the same greeting, the way you finish greeting them. I often will finish with a hug if they want it. If they've asked me for it, or I've said, you look like you need a hug, do you need a hug? And I will. Now, some of them finish with a high five, but I know the kids who finish differently, and it's really important for them. It signals the end of our session, it signals that trust and that you have space with me. 4, let them contribute. Belonging isn't just about being received, it's about having something to give. Find ways to let them contribute, whether it's to the group, to a conversation, ask their opinion. Give them a small responsibility. I'm massive about that with kids. I think it is just brilliant. The moment they feel this place needs something from them is the moment they belong. I say this all the time. When you're sat round a table, right, and even think about this in your home. If you eat dinner at the table, we talk about giving people a place at the table. When you ask them to help out, and sometimes that's painful, I get it, but when you say, can you empty the dishwasher, can you wash those few pots, can you bring your washing down, all of that, they feel needed. They feel like a sense of purpose. They've earned that seat at the table. 5, last one. Name the belonging out loud. Don't assume they feel it just because you feel it. Say it explicitly. This group is better when you're here. This class has missed you. I was hoping you'd come back today. Children and teens who've learnt to disappear often need that belonging spelled out. They don't trust the signals because it's let them down before. Give them the words. Be explicit. Say they belong out loud. Now, let's get back to the story. By November, Keza had stopped wearing her coat inside. So, it isn't. She's become quite the fixture at the Thursday sessions. She still doesn't say much in the group, but she's present in a different way now. Watchful, but interested. She laughs sometimes at the things that Marcus might say. She started leaving her notebook open on the table instead of hiding it under a coat. And one Thursday, Marcus pinned up a piece of paper. And it says, Youth Centre Mural Project. We want to redesign the back wall. Got any ideas? Talk to Marcus. He doesn't look at Keza when he pins it up. He doesn't need to. 2 days later, she texts the centre number. Marcus had made sure everybody had it with a photo. It's a sketch. A city, her city, the one that she's been building for 2 years. In the margins of notebooks, intricate streets, impossible architecture, a skyline that looks nothing like on Earth, and everything like somewhere you'd want to go. It is the skyline, her city, that Marcus noticed. So Marcus texts back, this is it. 3 weeks later, Keza is standing in front of that back wall with a pencil in her hand, sketching the outline of something that will take at least 6 sessions to paint, and will make every person who walks into that building stop and look. And she doesn't do it alone. The other young people paint around her design. They ask her questions. What colour should this be? Where does that go? What about here? And for the first time in longer than she can remember, Keza is not on the edge of this room. She is in the centre of it. She is the reason that people are gathered, and her vision is the thing that everyone is building together. On the last session, when it's finished, one of the other young people say, "You made this place look like somewhere worth being." And she doesn't cry until she gets outside, but by God does she cry. Now later on, Marcus will say that the mural wasn't his idea. He'll say he's just pinned up a piece of paper, and that's the thing about the best youth workers. They create conditions, they create environments, they build the stage, and then they get out of the way and let the young person walk onto it. Keza goes on to study graphic design at college. She still draws cities in the margins of things. She volunteers at the youth centre on a Tuesday evening. And she never forgets the Thursday Marcus asked her if that city was real. There is approximately 700,000 young people in the UK who are considered NEET. That is, not in education, employment or training. And the reasons are many and complex. Mental health, family instability, exclusion from school, poverty, unmet neurodevelopmental needs. But underneath almost every single story, if you dig far enough, you find the same thing. Not a lack of ability, not a lack of potential, a lack of someone who saw them. A youth worker in the UK is chronically underfunded. The National Youth Agency estimates the local authority spending on youth service has fell by 70% in a decade between 2010 and 2020. 70%. Thousands of centres closed, hundreds and thousands of young people lost access to the type of youth worker Marcus was. And yet, research by Catch-22 found that for every £1 invested in youth work, there is an estimated return of over £4 in reduced costs to public services, mental health, criminal justice and welfare. Youth work is not a nice to have, it's an economic argument, and it is a public health argument. More than that, it's a human interest argument. Because for a girl in a coat that she won't take off, sitting in a corner in a loud room she doesn't want to be in, one question about a city she made up can be the thing that changes everything. Is that city real, or did you make it up? It was both, Marcus. It was both. I want to end this one the same way as I ended our last episode, by speaking directly to the people who need it. To the youth workers, the support workers, the residential social workers, the detached workers doing outreach on cold Tuesday nights. The ones who do home visits, sit in family courts, write reports, attend multi-agency meetings, and somehow still show up Thursday afternoon and remember that kid mentioned something last week and asked about it. You work in a system that measures the wrong things, that counts sessions delivered, forms submitted and targets met, and rarely, almost never, counts the moment a girl takes her coat off and stays. But I see you in the meetings that I attend. I see you in the kids that talk about your name. And I want you to know that what you do is not supplementary. It is a support service. And for many of the young people that you work with, the most important relationship in their life, the one that says you are not the problem to be solved, you are a person worth knowing. You don't always get the ending. You don't always get to see the ending, whether you're a youth worker or someone like me and our coaches. Marcus didn't know Keza would design a mural. He didn't know she'd go to college. He just asked about the city. He just pinned up a piece of paper. He just showed up week after week in a room with bad lighting, broken table tennis. And that's it. That's the whole job. And it's everything. So if you're tired, and I know you are, I just want to say, the ones you're showing up for, they know. Even when they don't say, even when they leave without saying goodbye. Even when they stop coming and you never found out why, they know somebody saw them. And that stays, and that makes a difference for an absolute lot of kids. That's it, the place I finally fit. Thank you so much for listening to this one. It means a lot. And if you work in youth work or social care and this episode resonated, please share it. Tag a colleague who needs to hear they're doing something that matters. And if you were once a young person who found your place because of someone like Marcus, maybe today you'll find a way to tell them too. Show notes, research links and other reading are all below. And if you want to support youth work in your community, I have linked some organisations where you can find out why. If you want to come and be one of our franchise owners and be a coach to reach some of these people, then we would love to have a conversation with you. If you are energetic, if you want to make a difference, if you want to stop your hands being tied and start to see kids and teens in a way they really mean and really need to be seen, and stop your hands being tied by a system that is broken, then get in touch, because we would love to have that conversation. Until next time, look after each other, look out for the ones wearing their coats indoors. See you soon.